Today, we are going to watch a 2022 movie called Moon Man. Imagine if someone accidentally got stuck on the moon, and then just days later, watched the entire Earth get destroyed right in front of their eyes. All humans vanish, and only one person remains stranded on the moon. What could happen to that person? This unique concept is the story of our movie today, which is very interesting from start to finish. The story begins with a scene in space where large asteroids from the moon's surface are heading toward Earth. Though the asteroids narrowly miss Earth, even one hitting could destroy the planet completely. When scientists learn about this threat, they come up with a plan to save Earth. They decide to build a massive base on the moon equipped with powerful rockets controlled by sensors. These rockets would detect and destroy any asteroid heading toward Earth. They plan to eliminate the part of the moon causing the asteroid showers through a huge explosion using nuclear bombs. After years of research and hard work, the scientists successfully complete the project, and people all over Earth celebrate their achievement. Meanwhile, we meet Do-sun, an astronaut who is secretly in love with his captain So-hee. Do-sun has always admired So-hee, but never had the courage to confess because of her tough personality. While others celebrate, Do-sun struggles to focus on anything other than So-hee, often messing up his tasks whenever she's around. One day, So-hee gets upset with him for being distracted and warns him to take his work more seriously or risk being removed from the team. Later, several spaceships from China arrive at the moon base where Do-sun, So-hee, and other astronauts are stationed. Do-sun spends his time trying to figure out how to confess his feelings to So-hee, thinking it would be a memorable moment since they're on the moon. However, their plans change when an astronaut named Joe rushes to Captain So-hee with alarming news. A massive danger is approaching. The asteroids initially headed for Earth have now shifted course and are coming straight for the moon. These asteroids are enormous, and once they hit, everyone on the base will perish. They only have 30 minutes left to escape, so he immediately informs the space station and orders everyone to gather their belongings and prepare to leave for Earth. Do-sun, still wanting to propose to So-hee before leaving, hesitates but eventually realizes the urgency of the situation. As chaos unfolds, everyone prepared to leave, and warnings were sent out. In no time, people rushed to their rockets. However, Do-sun had no idea what was happening. He was wearing headphones, writing a letter, completely unaware of the alarms or the chaos around him. Suddenly, he noticed a rocket taking off. Realizing the danger, he quickly grabbed his gear and hurried to his vehicle. Driving as fast as possible, he raced toward his rocket. At first, seeing 6 rockets still there gave him hope, but soon 5 of them launched together, leaving only one behind. Panicking, Do-sun tried desperately to contact his team, but communication failed. With little time left before the asteroids hit the moon, he sped up, only to crash into a large pothole. Struggling to get out cost him precious time, and by the time he did, the last rocket had already taken off. Trapped on the moon, Do-sun watched as massive asteroids began raining down like water droplets. Running for cover, he spotted a large crater and dashed toward it. Just then, another huge asteroid struck nearby, knocking him unconscious. Hours later, Do-sun woke up to find the asteroid storm over. Though relieved to be alive, his joy turned to shock when he looked at Earth. A massive asteroid had hit it, causing a colossal explosion that wiped out the planet. Do-sun realized humanity was likely extinct. Overwhelmed with fear and grief, he returned to the base feeling hopeless. 6 months passed, and Do-sun's condition worsened. Day and night, he tried contacting Earth without success. No signals received any response, confirming his belief that he was alone in the universe. Accepting this reality, he decided to spend his remaining days fulfilling small wishes he'd never pursued before. Fortunately, the base had enough food and water stocked for years, ensuring his survival. Do-sun paid tribute to those who had perished on Earth and focused on completing his personal goals. His first wish was to visit Captain So-hee's room, wanting to see it one last time since he could no longer speak to her. But the door required a password, which he didn't know. Frustrated after multiple failed attempts, he grew tired and disheartened. His second wish was to skate on the moon's surface. Gathering his equipment, he stepped outside and began skating across the ground. Though different from ice, he enjoyed gliding along the dusty terrain, finding solace in the simple act. Skating on the moon was very different from ice, and Do-sun struggled at first. After several days of effort, he finally learned how to skate and spent most of his time doing it. However, his dream of entering Captain So-hee's room remained unfulfilled. He kept trying random passwords but failed every time. Frustrated, he eventually used a small explosion to force the door open. Inside, he found So-hee's belongings, including a photo of her. Overwhelmed with emotion, Dosun set up a deity with her picture, pretending she was there with him. While eating, he accidentally spilled sauce on the photo and instinctively wiped it clean. At that moment, he noticed something surprising on Earth. A new space station had been built as their headquarters. From there, his team could see him but couldn't communicate due to signal issues. Watching Dosun survive alone inspired many back on Earth. The government ordered Dosun's survival journey to be broadcast live for a month to inspire people to keep fighting despite the devastation. Captain Sohee watched Dosun from Earth and realized how well he was surviving. Though amazed by his resilience, she canceled the rescue mission for now. However, their chairman soon arrived. A team member named Ju doubted Dosun's reliability, fearing he might act unpredictably. Captain Sohee reassured them, explaining they would edit the live stream to control the narrative. Through a press conference, Sohee shared fabricated stories about Dosun, portraying him as a hero who risked his life to save others during crises. She claimed he once gave up his seat in a rescue rocket to save a crew member. These tales aimed to inspire people as they watched Dosun's daily struggles on the moon. Unaware of Earth's survival, Dosun continued living his life, trying to stay positive despite believing the planet was destroyed. After 196 days on the moon, Dosun felt unwell and went to the base's warehouse to fetch medicine. There, he noticed someone behind a curtain and assumed it was another survivor, possibly a woman. Excited, he began talking to her, asking how she ended up there and where she had been hiding. But when he approached, he discovered it wasn't a person but a giant kangaroo eating food. At that moment, the live stream camera focused on the kangaroo, catching everyone off guard. The voice artist, Flutist, mistakenly thought he had to dub the kangaroo's voice and started mimicking its sounds live. This turned the serious broadcast into an unintentional comedy, putting Sohee in a difficult situation. She tried stopping Flutist, but by then, many viewers had already tuned in. Chairman Yang scolded Sohee and Joe for the mishap and explained that the kangaroo, named Kong, was part of a research project studying animal survival in lunar conditions. Due to oversight, Kong had been left behind on the moon. Meanwhile, Flutist remained clueless about the chaos he had caused. Flutist, the voice artist hired for Dosun's broadcast, wasn't a professional but someone who usually dubbed animal sounds on social media. Realizing this wouldn't work, so he decided to present Dosun's story as a narrative instead of dubbing his videos. Meanwhile, Kong the kangaroo left behind on the moon kept eating everything in sight. Dosun tried controlling him but failed. He even attempted to scare Kong with an iron tool, but Kong effortlessly bent it, showing his strength. Realizing he couldn't overpower Kong, Dosun devised a plan. He found a lady kangaroo costume and made a paper mask resembling a kangaroo. Wearing the costume, he tried attracting Kong, who initially approached but then tore off Dosun's mask and kicked him hard. Dosun was left battered as Kong continued attacking him. Back on Earth, Dosun's team watched the chaotic scene unfold. Flutist, instead of helping, laughed uncontrollably at Dosun's struggles. Meanwhile, Sohee and her team planned how to manage the broadcast better. Just then, Ju informed them about the upcoming fight between Dosun and Kong, which excited everyone. Viewers eagerly awaited the match, while Sohee's team hoped to see how Dosun would handle the situation. The fight began, with Dosun trying various tactics, even using a gun that shot small balls to create chaos. Despite his efforts, Kong overpowered him, slapping him so hard his cheek turned red. Though Kong initially pretended to be scared, he soon kicked Dosun, knocking him unconscious. When Dosun regained consciousness hours later, he noticed a signal from Earth on his screen. Realizing humanity had survived. Overwhelmed with joy, he cried, though he couldn't hear their voices. This discovery thrilled him, but Sohee's team was puzzled since no signal should have reached him yet. Unbeknownst to them, a device attached to Kong's tail reflected the signal onto Dosun's screen, creating a false connection. They still couldn't contact or rescue him. Meanwhile, Kong, feeling sorry for Dosun after seeing him cry, approached him. Dosun tearfully explained that they'd soon return to Earth together, which made Kong happy too. Despite Kong playfully slapping him again, their bond grew stronger. Months passed, reaching day 24, but no rescue ship arrived. Dosun, however, didn't give up. He had grown close to Kong, who became his good friend, keeping him company during lonely times. Frustrated by the lack of help, Dosun decided to take matters into his own hands. With Kong, he drove toward the edge of the moon, heading for Apollo 18. His plan was to use it to reach a space station called Lunas. Dosun reached the location hoping to find an old spaceship that might help him return to Earth. Fortunately, He discovered one but realized it was controlled by an AI assistant named Lunas, designed for spacecraft operations. Dosen tried locating Lunas using a device while inspecting the damaged ship. Though much of the spaceship was broken, he managed to repair parts of it with Kong's help. However, the biggest issue was the spacecraft's limited capacity. It could only carry 20 pounds, meaning Dosen would have to leave Kong behind. Reluctantly, Dosen dropped Kong off some distance away, but Kong followed him back, unwilling to stay behind. Dosen now had to find a way to increase the ship's capacity. Suddenly, he remembered a powerful weapon on the moon that could serve as a prototype engine due to its nuclear power. Retrieving it, however, was risky since it could explode at any moment. Despite the danger, both Dosen and Kong decided to go together. Meanwhile, Zoe consulted astronaut Ju about Dosen's plan. Ju confirmed the plan was sound but warned that the weapon must be retrieved before sunset, as Dosen's solar-powered vehicle wouldn't work in the dark. They also learned that 1 lunar day equals 14 Earth days, meaning if Dosen didn't reach his destination before sunset, he'd be stranded for nearly 2 weeks. As the sun began setting, Dosen made a surprising move. He reversed course and followed the sunlight to save time. This strategy gave him approximately 41 days to retrieve the engine. Along the way, Dosen and Kong took breaks, tied themselves together with a rope to avoid accidents, and kept each other alert during driving shifts. After days of continuous travel, they finally reached the weapon. While Dosen inspected the engine, Kong accidentally pressed a button repeatedly. Luckily, it was just a system check button, averting disaster. Frustrated by Kong's actions, Dosen locked him in a room temporarily to prevent further mishaps. With the prototype engine secured, Dosen set off toward his base, determined to complete his mission. While driving, Dosen's car, with Kong in a compartment at the back, hit rough terrain, causing the section holding Kong to detach. By the time Dosen realized it was too late, he had traveled far ahead. Returning for Kong would risk losing sunlight, which powered his vehicle, leaving him stranded. Despite his emotional attachment to Kong, Dosen decided to move forward, knowing Kong's life was also at stake. Watching this sacrifice, people on Earth were deeply moved. After covering much distance, Dosen eventually reunited with Kong. Meanwhile, Sohee and her team calculated that Dosen wouldn't reach the base in time. They urgently tried activating Lunas, the AI assistant, whose battery could help Dosen survive. However, Lunas, operating in power-saving mode, stopped functioning after traveling a short distance and fell into a large crater, leaving everyone disheartened. As the sun set, Dosen and Kong faced freezing temperatures, making it hard to drive. With only 3 hours of oxygen left, Dosen kept Kong distracted by talking to him. Soon, Dosen noticed Kong chasing a reflection and came up with an idea. He broke off a flat part of his vehicle to use as a makeshift sled. Tying Kong to it with a rope, he created a reflection to guide Kong, who followed it at incredible speed, much faster than their previous pace. They covered miles quickly but soon encountered a massive crater too wide for Kong to cross. Dosen, however, had another plan. Using 2 gas tanks, he instructed Kong to jump into the crater. As Kong did so, Dosen released the gas pressure, propelling them upward like superheroes. They soared over the crater, astonishing everyone watching from Earth. People celebrated Dosen's ingenuity and bravery, showering him with honors and awards from around the globe. Despite all odds, Dosen and Kong managed to retrieve the nuclear bomb. Dosen and Kong successfully brought the protocol engine back to their base. Meanwhile, Zoe informed the chairman that all communication systems would be restored within 3 months, allowing direct contact with Dosen and even sending a spaceship to bring him back. Everything seemed to be improving, and Dosen was overjoyed, planning to use the engine to return to Earth. However, an enormous asteroid named P was heading toward Earth, large enough to destroy both the moon and the planet, though no one yet knew about it. While Dosen played with Kong, he noticed some signals on his computer screen caused by Kong's actions. This made Dosen fear that perhaps no one on Earth had survived after all, leaving him deeply depressed. In his despair, Dosen decided to commit suicide. Sensing this, Zoe urgently requested everyone on Earth to shine flashlights at the moon so Dosen could see signs of life. Just as Dosen was about to remove his suit, he saw lights flashing from various places on Earth. Realizing people were still alive, he broke down in tears of joy and regained confidence. He immediately focused on fixing the communication line and eventually succeeded, reconnecting with Sohee's team. Reunited, Dosen became emotional seeing his teammates again. Though initially unable to speak, he soon began talking with Zoe. Together, They prepared for his return journey. Following Sohi's instructions, Dosun quickly readied the spaceship for departure. That night, Dosun confessed to Sohi, "You've seen everything I've done here, and you now know that I love you. I joined the astronaut program just for you. I was once a flight engineer but fell in love with you at first sight. My entire life has revolved around you ever since." Hearing this, Sohi was astonished yet touched, realizing her growing feelings for him. The next day, Dosun and Kong boarded the spaceship and launched toward Earth. Watching this, people worldwide celebrated, knowing they were finally returning after 983 days. Meanwhile, Ju called an emergency meeting to reveal the dire situation. The massive asteroid Pi was approaching Earth, threatening total destruction unless stopped. Learning about the asteroid Pi, which threatened to destroy Earth completely, everyone was terrified. After much research and planning, the only solution was for Dosun to use his spaceship's engine, which is a massive nuclear bomb. It can destroy the asteroid in space. However, it was clear that this mission would cost Dosun his life, as the explosion would kill him too. Despite this, Dosun was the only one capable of saving Earth. The chairman instructed Sohi to inform Dosun about the plan, though she was reluctant. Before she could say anything, Dosun overheard their conversation due to a live microphone and volunteered for the mission himself. Sohi desperately tried to stop him, but Dosun insisted, knowing this was his final act. He told Sohi that he had always loved her deeply and wanted her to stay happy even after he was gone. He asked her to remember him fondly and move on with her life. Dosun then prepared Kong for departure, tying him into a small escape pod to ensure his survival. Emotionally overwhelmed, Dosun tearfully bid farewell to Kong, thanking him for being there during his toughest times. Though Kong didn't want to leave, Dosun sent him back toward Earth. Meanwhile, all of humanity was moved to bunkers for safety. As Dosun approached the asteroid, his spaceship began spinning uncontrollably from the impact. He detached the nuclear bomb and exited the craft, floating freely in space. Contacting Earth via a live stream, Dosun expressed gratitude to everyone for their love and support, something he had never experienced before in his life. With heartfelt words, Dosun thanked the world one last time. Dosun began singing a song, and Sohi, upon hearing it, became emotional as it was her favorite. Dosun, carrying the nuclear bomb, approached the asteroid Pi. However, Sohi hesitated to press the button to detonate the bomb. Overwhelmed by memories of Dosun and their brief time together, Dosun reminded her of her responsibility and told her that if she truly loved him, she would complete the mission, as that's what he desired most. Soon, a massive explosion lit up space, breaking the asteroid into small pieces that resembled falling stars from Earth. Everyone watched in awe, saluting Dosun for his immense sacrifice and bravery. Even Kong witnessed this moment, having safely returned to Earth. Among the crowd, a boy told his little sister that the new life they had was thanks to Dosun, the Moonman. About 10 years passed, and through Dosun's sacrifice and humanity's hard work, Earth returned to normal. Lissy, the new chairman of the astronauts, announced a return mission to the moon. Sohi and her team were part of it. Upon landing, Sohi imagined seeing Dosun standing there, and overcome with emotion, she cried. She had never forgotten him. Standing on the moon, Sohi gazed at Earth, imagining Dosun beside her. She pointed to the glowing rings around Earth, explaining they were remnants of the asteroid he had destroyed. "You're entwined there," she said, "and your memory will remain in my heart forever." With this heartfelt moment, the story comes to an end.